This conference will now be recorded.
Cool. All right. So just to explain some more info of exactly kind of what we're going to be doing here. So the primary kind of emails that just to give you guys some background, we run a small real estate business here in Manhattan. We're dealing with we sell between basically 100 to 300 apartments a year, and we deal with a heck of a lot of email. So I'm gonna basically what we're planning on doing is hiring between 5 and 8 people to help deal with our email flow. And this is a group interview or a group meeting for me to kind of do a demo for you guys on what the work entails. I'll also be after I do this, I'll be messaging each and one of you with a sample of the recording so you know what's going on, and also kind of instructions on next steps and kind of starting work. It's going to have a lot of flexible hours, and we'll get into all that afterwards. But for now, I'm just going to be kind of demoing to you the kind of work that you're looking at, and making sure kind of it's relatively clear what what kind of work you'd be doing. So let me just kind of show you. So this is generally the kind of email that you guys are going to be responsible for answering. People asking about the value of their apartment, what it could go for in today's market, etc. So it's a very common kind of question we get, common type of email. We get a few hundred of these a day, and basically I'm just going to kind of do a demo on kind of what this kind of how to answer this email, and that's essentially going to be our main screening question. I'm going to show you how it's done, and then I'm going to kind of give you a sample afterwards, and have you guys actually do one yourself. All right, so all right, so so like I said, this is a common type of email, and yeah, let me just show you. So we use a website called StreetEasy here in New York City. It's like essentially the Zillow of real estate for New York City. So what you're going to be primarily doing is responding to emails like this: what's the current market value of my apartment, etc. So what you're going to be doing is you would go kind of take the address, you'll copy it into the browser, and remember, don't worry about memorizing all this. You'll get a recording as well as instructions to supplement the recording. You kind of go into the building, and you'll be looking up the exact unit. So they have a tab here, all units. All right. So for the sake of this example, we'll assume that, person who kind of asks us this question, who you're going to be responding to, is kind of curious, how much their home is worth. This is the address. So you're going to pull up their apartment, and you'll basically be responsible for kind of putting together a little bit of an email for them on what their apartment is worth. We have actually a structure and sample emails I'll show you on how this is going to be done, which will supplement your work, and kind of how to do this. I'm going to quickly just kind of demonstrate to you what you'll be doing. And then afterwards, I'll actually send you the recording. I'll have you do a sample yourself. And then, that's basically it. That's essentially the entire interview for the job. Cool. So, yeah, you'll essentially kind of start out the, you'll take a quick look at the photos, get an idea of the condition of the apartment. And
Hello?
you'll be scrolling through and looking at different, let me just mute this, and looking at different, and looking at the different photos and the floor plan and just getting an idea of wrapping your head around, the current type of apartment you're looking at. You'll take a quick look at the description from the previous listing. So that way you have kind of a good general idea of the kind of apartment you're dealing with. You'll notice here kind of a few key facts. This was sold on February 12th, 2018, about 2 years ago, for $1 million, $1,025,000. You see that it's a condo. You see the size, etc. These are all important facts. There are several building types in Manhattan: condo and co-op. Don't worry about memorizing all of this. It'll kind of all come together over time. And you'll pay attention to the kind of the monthly taxes and common charges, so you know what the monthly carrying costs are. But essentially, the kind of email that you're going to be responding to is giving people an idea of what their home is worth. And you're going to be answering as many emails per day as kind of the time allots. So like I said, it's recorded, so you don't worry about memorizing all this. And for starters, you're just going to take a quick look, and it lists out the amenities of the building, outdoor space, etc. All the general info you need to know. And there's a button below it that the website provides that just says generate report. You will be clicking that, and you'll see that when that is clicked, it kind of gives you a general idea of apartments that have either recently went on the market, that have went into contract, and that have also sold, that the website deems are kind of relatively similar to the apartment we're looking to get some type of market value for. So that's basically the steps you'll go through. Once again, there's a button that says generate report. And while you're assessing this, you'll kind of take your time to make sure you understand the apartment you're dealing with. We'll be opening in a new tab. There's someone who works for me, but yeah. And you'll take a quick look at the apartments, and you'll basically structure an email around it. So you'll compare the photos. Okay. You'll compare the price. You'll look at the taxes and common charges and see how it compares to the apartment we're trying to give a valuation for. Now, when we do this, what you'll notice is, because I have a little doc that gives you a sample, we're not actually going to be giving them a definitive answer on what their apartment is worth. It's not really possible to do without actually seeing the apartment or really going into the weeds. Instead, what we're going to do is give them a range and give them some information so they have more context around kind of what their apartment might sell for, kind of what's going on locally, etc. So that's basically the kind of email you're going to be doing. And you'll get this document. I'll share this with you. But basically, it's simple. It'll the general structure is the person has provided us some basic info about their apartment, and we're just going to give them some basic data points, some basic kind of compare and contrast with other kind of local events in kind of the home real estate world. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. So just to take this as an example, we'll actually kind of go through this one for now. All right. So kind of here's how this might be answered. You know, and we'll just say, and then you'll simply go ahead and you'll say, okay, for example, this apartment 18N, this apartment 25N, same size, you can see the square footage, 866, 866, and then it has a price per foot, and then the fact that it's a 1 bed, 1 bath. Main difference is this apartment to me, it looks like a little nicer renovation, it looks like it has nicer views, whereas here, looks like it's a little bit, maybe a little bit dated. It could be the quality of the photos, but kitchen looks a little bit older, views aren't as nice, looks a little darker. So basically what you'll do is very simple. You'll be simply writing, in the email, you'll be writing, something along the lines of in your building. So you always start with the actual building that you're looking for information out of to see if there's relevant information within that actual building. And you take whatever you can in that building, and then you'll kind of spread out further from there. So you try to take the closest kind of data points, the most relevant information that pertains to that apartment you're trying to gather information for, and go from there by looking at the photos, description, etc. And it's pretty easy to kind of extrapolate all of that. So you would just simply write something like, in your building, apartment, which one was it? Apartment 18N came on the market. Says days on market, so that's about 2 weeks ago. Asking, we'll just say just under $1 million. And then what you'll do is you kind of simply just quickly compare and contrast the two. So you'll try to, and like I said, I'm gonna have this all listed out for you in terms of, I have another sheet here that kind of gives you kind of things to look out for, data points. So you'll have this available to you while you're doing this. So don't worry about memorizing any of this. Came on the market about 2 weeks ago, asking just under 1 million. And then you want to kind of take note of, different discrepancies in the carrying costs. So let's see, this one is 916 for the monthly taxes and 851 for the carrying monthly common charges. So it's about the same. Then you'll kind of take note, and then here it might be nice just to compare and contrast the renovation quality. So you might write something like, your apartment is much newer, is much more nicely renovated, and has a better view, because we can tell it's on a higher floor. This is on the 25th floor. This is on the 18th floor. And it kind of looks like it's facing, there's no apparent view from this apartment. So and then you'll send a link to the actual apartment you're referring to. And like I said, we have a structure to this, and you'll go ahead and you'll go through the next one. And once again, this one's not in the actual building. So what you will do here is you would take a quick look at the amenities, making sure that the amenities of the building, like for example, you're going to look at the fact of whether it has a doorman or not, on whether pets are allowed or not, on whether there's a washer dryer in the apartment, in the building, elevator. So these are obviously luxury buildings. So, and we can X out of this. And you'll notice that they're relatively comparable. So this is the person's apartment we're trying to give some information for. And as you can tell, they're relatively kind of comparable apartments. They both allow cats and dogs. They both have a full-time doorman. They both have a gym, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll take this. This one has been on the market for 28 days, so about a month. And each one of these emails that we write, we try to provide 3 data points. So this is one. We try to give 2 more that are relevant. And that's it. So here we would write, you know, we like to make them personalized. So this is 225 East 34th Street. You can kind of map it out and find and look very quickly and realize, okay, there's a little map here. You can see that this is by the corner of First Avenue and 37th Street, and this one is on the corner of let's see, looks like it's on 34th Street between these 2 avenues. So you could just say it's like a few blocks away, a few blocks from your building. An apartment. Now we take a look at other key facts. Okay, how does the square footage line up? This one is 869 feet. This one is 866 feet. So they're almost identical in size. Price is 1.1 million. Then you take a look at the taxes and common charges. The taxes here are 1252 a month. The common charges here are 988 a month. So you take a look, taxes, common charges, and they're relatively comparable. So you'll basically say, a few bucks an apartment, an apartment on the 3rd floor came on the market about a month ago, asking 1.1 M. Try to be informal, kind of personable, etc. So next sentence, you would actually kind of look through the photos. You'll notice that since this is on the 3rd floor, it doesn't have as nice views, but this looks like it's a very nicely renovated apartment. This is kind of building photos, but looks like a nicely renovated apartment. And we notice here it also actually has a balcony. So we'd want to kind of compare and contrast the two to give this person information on, starting to give him a better idea of what his apartment might be worth. And the apartment we're evaluating has no balcony. So unlike yours, it has a balcony. But it's also very nicely renovated. And you'll include a link, kind of a link right there. And then you'll go ahead and you'll just do one more. And this one is in contract, kind of same story here. You can see the square footage. You can see kind of all these different kind of little data points, days on market. So it took, this kind of basically says, okay, this apartment took 231 days. It was on the market 231 days before it went into contract, because the days on market ticker kind of stops once it goes into contract. So you can kind of quickly, you're going to be responsible for kind of quickly skimming the listing page, looking quickly at the price history, kind of different facts of that sort. And yeah, take a quick look at the floor plan. Here on the floor plan, we notice it also has a balcony, a nice size balcony, but this apartment also, what we'll notice is actually about 70 square feet smaller. And New York City, 70 square feet is significant enough that that would be something you'd want to note in the actual email. So we would write here, you know, so this is, once again, you're going to look at where it is on a map, and you're going to write something like, you know, at 235 East 40th Street, also a couple blocks from your building. Another apartment, and this one's on the 35th floor, so it's even higher up. And you can even be specific, another 1-bedroom apartment. This one on the 35th floor. Recently, and I like using dashes a lot, but you don't have to. You can write any way you like, as long as it's kind of clean English, easy to understand. We like using 3 bulletin points, simple, done. Recently went into contract after, 231 days is like, 7 months, after 7 months on the market. And then we kind of look back. I was here, the last asking price was essentially $1 million. And you're going to include a link. And you're going to be writing in my name under our email, working kind of with an established kind of line of emails that you'll be responsible for. I think that is basically kind of the most important stuff for you to understand about this project. You're going to be, so this is the primary kind of email you're going to be responding to that takes the most energy. You're going to be responding to other emails, but they're basically just copy paste lines you're going to be putting in, or very simple stuff, nothing that's going to take really much thought. But this is the primary kind of email that is going to require you to kind of, take some time to kind of think it through and make sure that your email is organized, and make sure that you kind of looked at everything thoroughly. Just to give you an idea of what I'm going to be providing you, not only, so basically the way this is going to work is, kind of the interview for this job. This is going to be a long-term position if you'd like, could last, 2, 3, 4 years. You work from home. We only ask that you kind of have some consistency to the frequency you check and respond to emails. So as opposed to 1 or 2 days a week where you're working 10 hours a day, it's preferable that you check in 3, 4, or 5 days a week and work 3 or 4 hours a day. What time during the day you want to work is really up to you. But we're going to require that you kind of schedule emails within, kind of a working time here in New York City on Eastern Standard Time. And you can easily just schedule the emails so that they're received here in New York time. The interview itself, I'm going to send you a sample similar to this, and I'm going to have you basically, write something up like this, assuming that you kind of get it or you don't have any issues. We're all good. And obviously, if you have questions as you go along trying to do this, when I send it to you, I'll send it to you on Upwork after this conversation. You can just ask me. That's not a problem at all. So yeah, I'm going to also be giving you kind of things to look at, and I'm just going to quickly explain this, and so I don't keep you guys on the call for too much longer. In New York City, there are two main building types where people own apartments. One is, typical condominium. The other one is co-op or cooperative. The main differences that you're going to notice, and this isn't something you've got to memorize, but just quickly going over it, is in a condo, they basically have two separate items for your monthly costs. One is called common charges, and the other one is your property tax. In a co-op, they combine the common charges and taxes into one fee. It's one listed fee, and it's called maintenance. And then condos usually has the square footage or actual size listed, and co-op typically doesn't have it listed. So you have to kind of do more research to figure it out. And then other kind of items you're going to look at when putting together this kind of compare and contrast email and trying to give people an idea of, what their apartment might be worth by looking at, active apartment in contract and recently sold. You'll look at, whether the building has a doorman, whether pets are allowed, laundry, washer dryer, outdoor space, apartment amenities, which are all on the listing page. You'll see it all here between the description and, they have this little section called highlights. You'll see, you quickly skim the description, you look at the highlights, you'll catch everything. You want to look at these features. You don't need to spend a ton of time. And then, other things that you want to check when assessing a listing is, you want to check the bedroom count. Is the apartment that you're comparing it to have the same number of bedrooms, the same number of bathrooms? If they don't, but they're similar in many other ways, you might want to point that out. And I have a bunch of examples that you'll be able to work from here, so don't worry. I'll give you actual examples as well. You'll take a quick read of the description. You'll look closely at photos on the listing. You'll look at the monthly charges, like I said before, etc. And then, like I kind of briefly pointed out, when you're preparing this email for them, you're going to also want to kind of have sort of a hierarchy of data points that you're looking for. So for the first thing that you're going to want to do is really focus in and own in on kind of sales in that building. It's pretty easy to do, and like I said, this is all going to be recorded, so I'm going to send this to you so you don't have to memorize it all. You can kind of click that link and you'll see, you can look at all the active sales in that building. You can look at, they have a tab, it just says past sales, so you can look at the past sales, like this apartment came off the market, etc. And then you can even just click all units, and it'll just go through in numerical order every single unit that's been on the market at some point in the building. So you can kind of use that for reference. And then, like I pointed out before, you can just simply, go to the listing and press that generate report button, and it'll also give you good detailed info on that, which is what this is. That's what you get when you press the generate report button. So yeah, you're going to start looking within the building, and then you can always expand your horizons to look for data points in the immediate vicinity. Like that's what we did here. We're looking at things a few blocks away. I'm not going to give you this now as an example, but there are times where that might be still insufficient, and in that case, you would broaden your range, broaden your reach. In the beginning, while you're getting started working with us, you'll get a lot of hand-holding, so you don't have to worry about being totally on your own. If you have questions, we have people who are already doing this, so we just need to grow our team a bit. So you'll get help. Yeah, we'll also have samples to send you. So I think that covers the most important stuff. These are the rest of the stuff we'll get into after I kind of evaluate this one task. I'm just going to have you assemble an email like this. That it'll just be a fake example I'll give you just as the kind of interview section. And then assuming that goes well, we can individually talk, and we'll establish hours, what hours you want to work. We're looking hopefully, ideally, for a minimum of a 20-hour weekly commitment, up to 40 hours. So anywhere between 20 and 40 hours a week is really ideal. Like I said, flexible hours. We'll talk pay one-on-one. So as far as that goes, I've seen what everyone's requested on Upwork as their hourly pay, but we'll talk about that. Like I said, this is something that could be in perpetuity as a job that you can do on the side, or even as a full-time gig. Pay will increase over time, and as the quality of your writing and emails and handling improves, you'll also get paid more. We have different bonus structures in place, etc. Yeah, I'm going to be sending you all this, including the recording. I'm not going to take any other questions on this call because there's a bunch of people and it's going to be a little too hard. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to individually message each one of you on Upwork with all this information. You'll do the best. I'll email you a sample question, not a different one, and you'll do the best you can, including asking me if you have questions. Feel free to ask with any questions. If you need some more guidance, we'll go over it together again. Get you guys to do one of these. We'll select, anywhere between, 5 to 8 people to actually work with us. So most of you will actually end up working with us. Yeah, any questions you have, we can always schedule a one-on-one call afterwards. I'm gonna I think that basically kind of ends our call here. So I'm gonna end the meeting now, and I will be messaging you all one-on-one on Upwork. Thank you.